Hi, welcome to the Dartarian Show. I'm Alexander Dartarian.
And I'm Dominic Sykes.
And today we're going to talk about a serial killer. Now, we've already done John Wayne Gacy.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first serial killer. And this serial killer he could have been a basketball player. He could have been a football player.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a wrestler in WWF or something, or WWE.
Yeah. Big dude.
Big dude. He's 6'9", over 300 pounds. So when you see that, when you think of that, you're like, oh my God, this dude is the real life Jason Voorhees.
Mm.
He's massive. And we're talking about Edmund Emil Kemper III.
The co-ed killer.
Yep. The co-ed killer, or some other nicknames like the Mad Titan, something like that. But I think nicknames make these serial killers sound too cool.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
What do you call it?
Glorify them.
Yeah.
All right. Edmund Kemper was born in Burbank, California on December 18th, 1948. He was a middle child and the only son born to Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper and Edmund Emil Kemper Jr.
Mm.
So Edmund Jr., which was his father, was a World War II veteran who, after the war, tested nuclear weapons in the specific proving grounds.
So now, I heard before that he had a really, really high IQ, Edmund Kemper did.
Yeah.
So is that his dad, I guess, if he was testing...
Yeah, he got his intelligence from his father.
Yes.
In Edmund Kemper, he had the IQ of 145, which is
crazy. Near
genius level.
Right.
So, I mean, he could have done a lot of stuff, but as we're going to learn real quick, he was born not all there, and his I'm not going to blame his mother, but she surely did not help the situation whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Weighing 13 pounds as a newborn.
Golly.
Yeah, 13
No wonder
pounds.
she was so mean. Pushing that big a baby out, yeah.
He was a middle child, so she had another one after that.
Oh, man.
Kemper was a head taller than his peers by the age of 4.
Wow.
Yeah, he
Can
early
you
on,
imagine him in Pee Wee football?
Oh, yeah, like
Looks
I
like
said,
a high
he would've
school
been,
kid tearing through the...
He would have been great
the
at sports.
Little kids.
What he needed was a coach. Just a father-like coach that could,
Yeah.
be like, you can do it, son. You can do it. But
Like his very own... Al Pacino plays in Any Given Sunday. What's the guy's name in the movie?
I have no idea.
We're all way off track here, sorry.
I've only seen the locker room scene of that movie. I've never seen it all the way. But early on, he exhibited antisocial behaviors such as cruelty to animals.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the signs, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the unholy triads. That's one of the part of the triangles. At the age of 10, he buried a cat alive. And it was his pet cat. Once it died, he dug it up and decapitated it and mounted it on mounted the head on a spike.
Where are his parents when all this is happening? This is in the 60s and 70s, so... Well, no, this is when he was a kid, so even...
Well,
the 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because he was born in...
Yeah, this is 50s. Kemper later stated that he derived pleasure from successfully lying to his family about killing the cat.
Okay.
At the age of 13, he killed another family cat when he perceived it to be favoring his younger sister, Allison Lee Kemper, born in 1951, over him. And he kept pieces of it in his closet until his mother found them.
Wow.
So the first cat he got away with a little bit. I think she did find it later, but she found the second one.
Yeah.
Because, stuff stinks
yeah.
when you kill it.
Yeah.
He also had a very dark fantasy life. He performed rites with his young sister's dolls that culminated in his removing their heads and hands on one occasion. When his elder sister, Susan Hewley Kemper, teased him and asked why he did not try to kiss his teacher, he replied, "If I kiss her, I'd have to kill her first."
That it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
There was no cause for concern then?
I don't know. Usually the correct response was like, "Oh, she has cuties
I don't
or
know.
something.
They say that it's hard to tell when you're in that position. You know, like you live with that person every day. They just seem their weird stuff seems normal to you or whatever. But I think I would notice if you know there was dead cats turning up and talking about killing my teachers and all that stuff.
He also had two favorite games to play when he was a child, which was gas chamber and electric chair, in which he asked his younger sister to tie him up and flip an imaginary switch. All right. He would then tumble over and rise on the floor, pretending that he was being executed by gas inhalation or electric shock.
This is a morbid kid. I'm pretty sure he should.
I don't know. Electric chair and gas chamber. That's a little bit more understanding of a child brain or a normal child would do than killing kittens or cats and cutting heads off of Barbies and hands. Although I did remove my sister's Ken doll's heads, but it wasn't like I actually like made them fight over like the affection of Barbie, like two Ken dolls.
Did you have like a gladiatorial arena?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I can understand where Ed's coming from with the Barbies and stuff.
Not me.
He also had a very close to death experience as a child.
Oh really?
Yes. His elder sister tried to push him in front of a train.
What?
Yes.
Are
And
you kidding me? So it sounds like he's not
the only one with a dark thought process.
God, that's weird.
And another time, she successfully pushed him into the deep end of the swimming pool where he almost drowned.
Okay, now
let's look into
investigate
her
the
past.
sister's
Yeah,
past.
I know.
This
like
is ridiculous.
maybe she's a killer too, because we don't know about that. Because or maybe she just saw evil in him.
Maybe
like she was like like in Omen, like how he's like he seems like a good child, but like
some people can sense it.
Yeah, like she was just like I can sense you're gonna be evil.
That's weird. And
Kemper also had a very close relationship with his father and was devastated when his parents separated in 1957.
Right.
Causing him to be raised by Clarnell in Helena, Montana. So
it's just him and his overbearing, mean mother now.
Yeah. He had a severely dysfunctional relationship with his mother. A neurotic, domineering alcoholic who frequently belittled, humiliated, and abused him.
Right.
She often made her son sleep in a locked basement because she feared that he would harm his sisters. And by harmed, that is a very, very, I guess, PC way of putting that.
Yeah.
Because she literally thought that he was going to rape his sisters.
That's why she put him in the basement?
Yeah.
This whole family's messed up, to be honest. Like, I don't know. And another thing, how many of these stories of his past, his childhood, are confirmed to be real? Because serial killers lie a lot. So how much of it could be like him making it up to make it seem like, his sisters were bad guys I
think most of what he said about his childhood, not all of it, was backed up by his sisters.
Okay, I was going to say, because
like especially the games, the games that they played, and the cat and the G.I. Joes,
right.
The Barbies, were backed up by his sisters during interviews and stuff. And I'm not 100% sure about. I'm pretty sure that they backed up the mom being at least an alcoholic and belittling and stuff.
Yeah.
He was also regularly mocked for his large size.
Mm-hmm.
He stood 6 feet 4 inches by the age of 15. People called him a real weirdo.
Because he was tall, or
no? I'm sorry, that was his mother. His
mother
called him a real weirdo.
Oh. Yeah, it's a nice thing to hear from your mom.
I know. She also refused to show him affection out of fear that she would turn him gay.
What?
The audience at home can decide whether or not his mother had anything to do with
why he turned out the way he did.
I
think it was a big contributing factor, if nothing else.
Yeah. She told Ed Kemper that that she reminded him of his father, and that no woman would ever love him.
Damn.
Yeah. Kemper later in interviews described her as a sick, angry woman. And it's also believed that she did suffer from borderline personality disorder.
Right.
But that's no excuse to treat your child this way.
Right.
At the age of 14, Kemper ran away from home in an attempt to reconcile with his father in Van Nuys, California. Once there, he learned that his father had remarried and had a stepson. So,
wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
Wanted to go live with his dad, and he's already forgotten him.
He has a replacement
family.
Kemper stayed with his father for a short while until the elder Kemper sent him away to live with his paternal grandparents. The story behind that is his wife didn't feel comfortable with him.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't feel comfortable
around. He would
around.
stand in the doorway and like block it to where she couldn't get by.
Yeah,
and like I don't know, just like breathe heavy and like look at her and stare at her, and it made her feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah, so she wanted him away.
So she's like, please send him away. His grandparents lived on a ranch in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains on Road 224, about 2 miles west of town of North Fork, California. Kemper hated living in North Fork. He described his grandfather as senile and said that his grandmother was constantly emasculating me and my grandfather.
Well, if his mom's like that, it would make sense that his grandma would be like that too.
Yes, but that's his dad's mom.
Oh,
so I guess, yeah,
okay.
That's pretty much like, that saying that sons look for their mothers or their spouses.
Yeah.
So he made friends for a short while with David Mike Dozier, who lived a short distance away and was about the same age. According to Dozier and his mother Elena, he stopped spending time with Kemper, whom he called Guy, after Elena's mother's cat and her pillowcase went missing.
Wow. So a lot of people around him were already like seriously suspecting or creeped out or uncomfortable or whatever. Yeah. Just nobody wanted to figure out what was going on or what? Like take him to a doctor or
as a curiosity, Dozier gave his future wife a 50-cent piece that had the eye of an eagle precisely drilled out by Kemper. So, all right, that's pretty much his childhood right now, and we're gonna go right into his very first murder.
Yep,
was at the age of 15.
Yep, very close to home too.
On August 27th, 1964, at the age of 15, Kemper was sitting at the kitchen table with his grandmother, Maud Matilda Hewley Kemper, born 1897.
Wow.
Whew. When they had an argument. Enraged.
1897.
Yeah. Enraged, wow. Kemper stormed off and retrieved a rifle that his grandfather had given him for hunting. The rifle had been confiscated because he used it to needlessly shoot animals. So he would literally go out there and kill animals for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
He then re-entered the kitchen and fatally shot his grandmother in the head before firing twice more into her back and then stabbing her multiple times.
Yeah,
his grandmother's last words were, "Oh, you'd better not be shooting those birds again."
Wow. As she was dying?
No, right before he went out there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he went and shot her. When Kemper's grandfather got home, Edmund Emil Kemper Sr., born 1892, returned from grocery shopping, Kemper went outside and fatally shot him in the driveway next to his car. He was unsure of what to do next, so he phoned his mother, who told him to contact the local police. So Kemper called the police and waited to be taken into custody.
I feel like he probably shouldn't have gotten out.
We're gonna get to that.
I feel like this was definitely some incompetence going on here.
All right. After his arrest, Kemper was asked why he did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they always do. Like, why did you do this and stuff?
Yeah.
He said, and I quote, "Just wanted to see what it felt like to kill Grandma."
Wow.
Yep. And why he killed his grandfather is so he would not have find out that his wife was dead, and that he would be angry with Kemper for what he had done.
Well, that's weird. He was concerned about his grandpa being angry
And
at him,
and he didn't want him to see that his wife was dead,
so he just killed him.
And quick note, Maud was working on a children's book. That's what she was at the dining room table, kitchen table
that's
with.
Messed
she
up.
was finishing up a children's book. She was reviewing it before sending it off, and he just blew her brains right out on him.
That's messed up.
I wonder if they released it.
I don't know. I have to look it up.
Okay. So he was sent to a psychiatric hospital. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenic, and they sent him to Altsacradio State Hospital, a maximum security facility that houses mentally ill convicts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, this is where he really turns into pure evil.
Mm.
So, during his time at this hospital, he was initially IQ tested, and his IQ was at 136 at this time. So, 15 years old has an IQ of 136. That's outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
So, he got re-diagnosed after a little bit, and he got personality trait disturbance and passive aggressive type. So, which means
he basically tricked them into thinking that he was good to go, or
no, it's more like he wasn't paranoid schizophrenic. He had a personality trait disorder. Basically, it was like something's wrong with his personality. He's a psychopath or a sociopath, whichever one. But he was the passive aggressive type, so that means I think he's passive aggressive, but I don't think coming in and blowing your grandma's head off is passive aggressive
no.
Later on in his time, he was given another IQ test, which gave him a very high result of 145. So basically, he endeared himself to his psychiatrist, being a model prisoner, and was trained to administer psychiatric tests on other inmates.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of his psychiatrists later said he was a very good worker, and this is not typical of a sociopath. He really took pride in his work. Most CEOs are sociopaths.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they're sociopaths.
They just...
It's because you can't have remorse in business. You have to backstab and connive. It's like Game of Thrones, but like corporate level.
Huh.
So, yeah, no, you can't be like, you can't have feelings in business, basically. Basically, he would talk to, and these people in this hospital, criminal hospital, there's rapists, murderers. And one of the big things that he learned in this hospital with these patients is if you're going to rape somebody, don't leave any evidence. Or not evidence. Don't leave anybody alive to tell the tale, basically. Don't have any witnesses.
Right.
So he was being taught, basically, by rapists, by murderers, how to get away with it, what they did wrong. He was looking at what they did wrong. And it was like, oh, I can...
Analyzing it.
Yeah. So basically, he tricked. He tricked them on his 21st birthday, December 18, 1969. He was released.
Oh, my God.
Because they assumed he was cured.
I'm sure.
He literally, he is such high intelligence. He gave them what they wanted. He told them. He was being trained as a psychiatrist.
He is the epitome of fake it till you make it.
He is the epitome of I don't know. He's like a freaking Batman villain.
Really?
Yeah,
like
the Riddler or something.
Super intelligent Batman villain or like a Dr. Evil type thing.
Yeah, like he like reading about him and studying him and everything, it makes you think, like, obviously there's other serial killers like him. There's other intelligent
think
serial
if he had
killers.
turned that to something that didn't involve killing people.
Yeah, if he, like I said, if he would have went into business, I mean, he could.
Yeah.
God, he could have been. He had the intelligence to do everything. Basically, he missed the '60s, the flower love child, the hippie stage.
Yeah,
that was all done. Sorry. So he got out, right? He missed everything, and they literally told him, they recommended for him not to go back with his mother, not to live with his mother at all.
right.
So when he got out, he went to live with his mother.
Yep, they really did a good job, didn't they? Don't send him to his mom. It's probably not a good idea based on his past track record. He probably shouldn't even be out anyway, but definitely don't send him to his mom's. All right, y'all, I'm going to my mom's. All right, see you later.
Oh, God. All right. So between May 1972 and April 1973, Kemper killed 8 people. So he already has 2 under his belt.
Yeah, so 10 total.
So he's killed 10 people, you know. He would pick up female students who were hitchhiking and take them to isolated areas where he would shoot them, stab them, smother, or strangle them.
Which is why he's called the co-ed killer.
Yep. He would take their bodies back to his home where he decapitated them before performed sexual acts on the severed heads.
I'm sorry, I might be getting him mixed up with somebody else, but is he the one that, like, his first few kills were, like, practice for the one we're going to get to, or?
No. Basically, with serial killers, like Ted Bundy, like, let's use Ted Bundy as an example. Ted Bundy killed a certain type of victim. Brown hair with a parted down the middle. It's because when his girlfriend rejected him, and her hair was brown hair parted down the middle. So he killed those people.
Gotcha.
Edmund Kemper is killing surrogates for the person he truly wants to kill. He'd have sexual intercourse with their corpses and then dismember them. So during his 11-month murder spree, he killed 5 college students, 1 high school student, and his mother. Also, his mother's best friend. So, let's get into the victims. All right?
Yep, let's hear it.
Mary Ann Peisch and Anita Lechuza. May 7th, 1972.
This one, I'm sorry, I know I keep interrupting you, but this one for sure could have been prevented.
If they would have kept him in jail, yeah.
No, I'm talking about, like, when he... All right, I don't want to spoil nothing, sorry. Right. We'll talk about it after.
May 7th, 1972, Kemper was driving in Berkeley, California, when he picked up 2 18-year-old hitchhiking students from Fresno State University, Mary Ann Peisch and Anita Mary Lechuza, with the pretense of taking them to Stanford University. After driving for an hour, he managed to reach a secluded wooded area near Alameda, California, which he was very familiar with because he worked at the highway department without alerting his passengers that he had changed directions from where they wanted to go. So he knew the area very well. He kind of like changed directions, went back the other way. They didn't know.
Yeah.
It was there that he handcuffed Peisch and locked Lechuza in the trunk, then stabbed and strangled Peisch to death, subsequently killing Lechuza in the similar manner. Kemper later confessed that while handcuffing Peisch, he brushed the back of his hand against one of her breasts.
And he kind of panicked.
And it embarrassed him.
Oh, really?
Adding that he said, "Whoops, I'm sorry," or something like that.
And then he kills her? That is so weird.
See, with him, he says this shit all the time when he talks about his victims, right? He says something like, "Oh, well, like when he was going to stab somebody." One of his famous quotes is, "When you stab somebody, they're supposed to die." And he's like, "But when I stab them, you sort of leak." And he's like, "And the more times I stabbed her, and she went to fall back, and he couldn't stab her in the chest because her breasts were there.
Oh, wow.
So
he was just stabbing her in the stomach?
Yeah, he was like trying to hurt her. Like he's like, I didn't want to hurt her, and he
did want to hurt her.
He also slit her throat, and that's where the term ear to ear comes from, because you literally have to cut from the carotid to the jugular.
Right.
And it's just he says it for our benefit. He says it because it's the right thing to say. Well, like, oops, I'm embarrassed. I touched your boob. Oh, I don't want to stab you in the chest because your boobs are there.
Well, they don't have empathy. They don't feel normal feelings.
Yeah, but it's bullshit. Like, he's literally, he murdered her minutes later after he touched her boob.
Right.
Kemper put both women's bodies in the trunk of his Ford Galaxy and returned to his apartment. He was stopped on the way home by a police officer for having a broken taillight. But the officer did not detect the corpses in the car. Kemper's roommate was not at home, so he took the bodies into his apartment, where he photographed and had sexual intercourse with their naked corpses before dismembering them. He then put the body parts in plastic bags, which he later abandoned near Luma Parita Mountain, before disposing of Picius and Lechuza's severed heads in a ravine. Kemper engaged in oral sex with both of their skulls.
God.
In August of that year, Picius' skull was found on Luma Parita Mountain. An extensive search failed to turn up the rest of Picius' remains and a trace of Lechuza. Lechuza was never found to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Would he never tell anybody where she was at, or he forgot, or what?
No, he told them where he was. It's just
they could find her.
Like, wild animals could have taken her off and
maybe
eaten her, and anything could have happened. He could have tossed them different places.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that mountain's huge.
Yeah,
the ravine's huge. Okay, his next victim, Ekio Ku. On the evening of September 14th, 1972, Kemper picked up a 15-year-old dance student named Akiko Ku, who had decided to hitchhike to a dance class after missing her bus. He again drove to a remote area, where he pulled a gun on Ku before accidentally locking himself out of the car.
Oh, wow.
However, Ku let him back inside despite the fact that the gun was still in the car.
Really?
Yeah. He took her hostage and said, I'm going to kill myself. I want someone to witness it.
Okay.
And
so
this 15-year-old girl scared to death.
Yeah.
So he goes there, and he goes to get out of the car. He leaves the gun in there. He locks himself out of the car. This is not a man that rings to me high IQ.
Yeah.
And he knocked on the window and was like, let me back in, please let me back in. And she unlocked the door, let him back in. And once back inside, he choked her unconscious, raped her, and then killed her.
Wow.
Kemper packed Ku's body into the trunk of his car and went to a nearby bar to have a few drinks. Then returned to his apartment. He later confessed that exiting the bar, he opened the trunk of his car to admire his catch like a fisherman.
Wow. This dude's sick.
Yeah, he is. Anybody could have seen him.
Yeah.
Like, where are all these people? Like, in freaking 2022, you can't even, wipe your ass without someone tweeting about it.
Yep. I don't know.
This is why, this is why we don't have serial killers now. Because
we're
a lot nosier now.
It's not only that, it's just the way that DNA has come.
Yeah.
The technology for that.
Back at his apartment, he had sexual intercourse with a corpse again. Then dismembered and disposed of the remains in a similar manner as his previous two victims. Ku's mother called the police to report the disappearance of her daughter and put up hundreds of flyers asking for information, but she did not receive any response regarding her daughter's location or status.
I can only imagine what she was feeling.
Yeah. Cindy Shaw, his fourth victim, as his fourth new victim, not including his mother or his grandmother and his grandfather. On January 7th, 1973, Kemper, who had moved back in with his mother at this point, was driving around the Cambrillo College campus where he picked up an 18-year-old student, Cynthia Ann Cindy Shaw. He drove to a wooded area, fatally shot her with a .22 pistol. Then he placed her body in the trunk of his car and drove to his mother's house, where he kept her body hidden in a closet in his room overnight.
What?
Yeah. When his mother left for the next morning, he had sexual intercourse with her, removed the bullet from Shaw's corpse, and then dismembered and decapitated her in his mother's bathtub.
Why did his mother let him move back in?
I don't know.
She knows that he killed his
hates
grandparents,
him.
and she doesn't like him. She made his childhood hell, basically, and now she just lets him move back in after he killed his grandparents? That doesn't make sense to me.
I think she needed someone to torment.
Oh, okay.
She is a very bitter woman.
Right, wasn't happy unless somebody else was unhappy type deal.
Oh, my God. So, Kemper kept Shaw's severed head for several days, regularly engaging in oral sex with it. Then buried it in his mother's garden facing upward toward her bedroom. After he was arrested, he did this because his mother always wanted people to look up to her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a interesting point of view, I guess.
Yep. He discarded the rest of Shaw's remains by throwing them off a cliff over the course of the following few weeks. All except her head and the right hand were discovered. They pieced them back like a macabre jigsaw puzzle.
Wow.
Yep. The pathologist determined that Shaw had been cut into pieces with a power saw.
Right.
All right. His next victims, Rosalind Thrope and Allison Liu. On February 5th, 1973, after a heated argument with his mother, Kemper left his house in search of possible victims. With heightened suspicion of a serial killer preying on hitchhikers in the Santa Cruz area, students were advised to only accept rides with university stickers on them. Kemper had been able to obtain such a sticker as his mother worked at the University of California in Santa Cruz.
That sucks.
Yes. He encountered 23-year-old Rosalind Heather Thrope and 20-year-old Allison Liu on the UCSC campus. According to Kemper, Thrope entered his car first, reassuring Liu to also enter. He first fatally shot Thrope and then Liu with his .22 pistol and wrapped their bodies in blankets. Kemper again brought his victims back to his mother's house. This time, he beheaded them in his car in full view of everyone that would be on that street. Someone could have walked by and seen him cutting them off. Yeah. No one even seen anything. He
ridiculous.
He carried the headless corpses into his mother's house to have sexual intercourse with them. He then dismembered the bodies, removed the bullets to prevent identification, and discarded the remains the next morning. Some remains were found at Eden Canyon a week later, and more were found near Highway 1 in March.
Wow.
When questioned in an interview to why he decapitated his victims, he explained that the head trip fantasies were a bit like a trophy. You know, the head is where everything is at. The brain, the eyes, the mouth. That's the person. Remember being told as a kid you cut off the head and the body dies? The body is nothing after the head is cut off. Well, that's not quite true. There's a lot left in a girl's body without the head.
Ugh. God.
No one said that he wasn't a sicko.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. His next and final victims, Clarnell Kemper Strandberg,
His own mama.
and Sally Hallett. On April 20th, 1973, after coming home from a party, 52-year-old Clarnell Elizabeth Stromberg, Kemper, she remarried, awakened her son with her arrival. While sitting in her bed reading a book, she noticed Kemper entering her room and said to him, "I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now." Kemper replied, "No, good night." Then he waited for her to fall asleep, snuck back into her room, and bludgeoned her with a claw hammer and slit her throat with a penknife. He then decapitated her, made her or engaged in oral sex with her severed head.
Ugh, God.
Yep, and then used it as a dartboard.
Ridiculous.
Kemper stated that he put her head on a shelf and screamed at it for an hour, throwing darts at it.
Now we know definitely
That was
his mother was definitely a sore point with him.
Yeah, and ultimately smashed her face in.
Ugh.
He also cut out her tongue and larynx and put them in the garbage disposal. However, the garbage disposal could not break down the tough vocal cords and ejected the tissue back into the sink.
Ew.
He later said, "That seemed appropriate, as much as she bitched and screamed and yelled at me also over so many years."
Right.
Kemper then hid his mother's corpse into the closet and went to go drink at a nearby bar.
I think there's a lesson to be learned here. Be nice to your kids. Because they might just turn out to be serial killers and you might be next.
Upon his return, he invited his mother's best friend, 59-year-old Sarah Taylor Sally Hallett, over to the house to have dinner and watch a movie. When Hallett arrived, Kemper strangled her to death to create a cover story that his mother and Hallett had gone away together on vacation. He then put Hallett's corpse in the closet and obscured any outward signs of disturbance. I left a note to the police. It read, approximately 5:15 a.m. Saturday, no need for her to suffer anymore at the hands of this horrible, murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep, the way I wanted it, not sloppy, incomplete, gents, just a lack of time. I got things to do.
Wow.
Afterwards, Kemper...
like a Moriarty type dude, just leaving like little notes.
Afterward, Kemper fled the scene. He drove nonstop to Pueblo, Colorado, taking caffeine pills to stay awake for over 1,000 miles journey.
Mm-hmm.
He had 3 guns and hundreds of rounds of ammunition in his car, and believed he was the target of an active manhunt.
So he thought he was like on FBI's most wanted list.
After not hearing any news on the radio about the murders of his
they still
mother
haven't noticed anything yet.
Or Hallett, when he arrived in
They're so
Pueblo,
far behind the 8 ball, it's not even funny.
He found a phone booth and called the police.
Oh, he got bored.
Yeah.
He got tired of waiting.
He confessed to the murders of his mother and Hallett, but the police did not take him seriously and hung up.
No. Oh,
He
man.
had to call 3 times before they
Took him seriously? Jeez.
Several hours later, Kemper freaking called again and asked to speak to an officer he personally knew. He confessed to the officer about killing his mother and Hallett, and then waited for the police to arrive and take him into custody, where he also confessed to the murders of 6 other students.
So, he's like what you hear a lot about serial killers. He wanted the attention. He wanted to. He liked playing the game. Apparently, the whole cat and mouse type deal. But it got boring because nobody was really looking for him.
Yeah. And there's a reason why. With John Wayne Gacy, we went through the police.
Mm-hmm.
Because John Wayne Gacy, yes, he was outward and outgoing, and he had a persona to like that. But the police were on to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he killed
was being
30 people, but he was being investigated.
Quite a few times.
He'd been interviewed and stuff. Edmund Kemper, the police that were tracking these co-ed murders, they had no idea. He he frequented a bar called the Jury Room.
A police bar, wasn't it?
Yeah, the jury room.
I think that's what it was.
And would talk to the police openly about the cases.
Yeah.
And
everybody liked Big Ed.
Yeah, Big Ed. He was the kind of guy. He was a police groupie, is what they called him.
And that didn't ring any alarm bells at all.
They thought he was a doofus. They thought he was a big, tall doofus.
Oh.
And he was out murdering people.
And was brilliant, really, in IQ level.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, no, Ed, he also wanted the acknowledgement, like, this is what I did. I outsmarted everyone. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, he said that the original purpose was gone after he turned himself in. He wasn't serving any physical or real or emotional purpose. He was a pure waste of time. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it much longer. Toward the end there, I started to feeling of the folly of the whole damn thing at the point of near exhaustion, near collapse. So I said the hell with it, and called it all off.
So we got burnt out, or
He killed what he was like. All
Then
of
it
the
was because
murders
of his mom.
were a surrogate for his mother,
Yeah.
and when he finally got to kill his mother,
He's like,
he was like, okay, my
then why kill his
purpose
best
is
friend
gone.
though? Just to set up the alibi, right?
He didn't. Later on, he said he didn't want her to miss his mother.
Oh, this dude, he's a liar.
I know he has a weird, and he does have different stories for every
Yeah.
They're not completely different, but he does know how to. He reads his audience and he tells you what you want to hear.
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't get didn't get newspapers and stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to the trial because it's pretty interesting. Kemper was indicted on 8 counts of first-degree murder on May 7th, 1973.
Because he'd already gotten charged for his grandparents' murder, so it would only
Yeah,
have been
but that
8.
was expunged.
Really.
Yeah, they thought that he was so
So he really had like no negative fallout at all for killing his grandparents, other than being in this facility for a couple years.
he didn't know how to socialize with people,
Right.
and that's one of the
Well,
reasons.
apparently he did.
Yeah.
If he's hanging out at cop bars and talking to cops, and everybody liked him.
I guess women, would be the thing. He was assigned a chief public defender of Santa Cruz, an attorney named Jim Jackson. Due to Kemper's explicit and detailed confession, his counselor's only option was to plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
Yeah, there's really nowhere you can go after that.
Kemper twice tried to commit suicide in custody. He went to trial on October 23rd, 1973. 3 court-appointed psychiatrists found Kemper to be legally sane.
Yeah. At least they did their jobs a little bit better than the last ones did.
Dr. Joel Fort was one of the ones that investigated his juvenile records and diagnosis that was once psychotic. Fort also interviewed Kemper under truth serum.
What?
Something pentothal. I can't. It's not technically. It just makes you really suggestive, like susceptible to suggestion.
Harry Potter fans would say Veritaserum.
No, I think it's just truth serum. But
Yeah,
he relayed to the court that Kemper had engaged in cannibalism, alleging that he sliced flesh off the legs of his victim, then cooked and consumed these strips in a flesh casserole.
What?
He said that he admitted to cannibalism. He would cut
He didn't, did he?
skins off. I don't think he's refuted it.
Huh.
So, I mean...
He did all kinds of other disgusting things to the body.
Oh,
Why
wait,
not?
no. He did. He later recanted the confession.
Yeah,
of
I was going to say, that
cannibalism.
sounds like he was just trying to make it even more shocking and gruesome than it already was. People were getting bored with just the regular old murders, so now I've got to add cannibalism to the mix.
Yeah, so... so basically, he was found guilty, obviously, on November 8th, 1973, and 6 men and 6 women jury deliberated for 5 hours before declaring Kemper sane and guilty of all counts. He asked for the death penalty, requesting death by torture.
Wow, this guy is a
He
weirdo.
He is.
God.
A real weirdo. I guess his mother was right.
Yeah.
He so the apparently the capital punishment was suspended across the country by the Supreme Court of California, or across the state. The Supreme Court of California decided that capital punishment was not the greatest, so they suspended it for the time. So he received 7 years to life for each count, with these terms to be served concurrently, and was sentenced to the California Medical Facility.
I guess he wasn't happy with that if he tried to kill himself several times.
Well, that was during the trial.
Well, that, and he wanted to go to the death sentence.
Yeah, he
So obviously
really
didn't want to be alive anymore.
Yeah. He went along, and he was considered a model citizen, or model prisoner. He was basically...
The same as he was the first time.
Yeah.
It maybe figured if it worked once, it'd work again, probably.
Well, he also participated in a number of interviews, including a segment in a 1982 documentary, The Killing of America, as well as an appearance in the 1984 documentary, Murder, No Apparent Motive.
He was also featured in Mindhunter as well.
Yeah. His, he also contributed in the understanding of the mind of serial killers. FBI profiler John Douglas described Kemper as among the brightest prison inmates he had ever interviewed, and capable of rare insight for a violent criminal. So, him interviewing a lot. He is probably, I think he has the most interviews out of any serial killer, and that's including Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer did a 2-hour interview. I think he has like 8 hours of interview time.
Wow.
Edmund Kemper does, and he just loves to talk.
Yeah.
And pretty much, he's still alive. He's still in prison. He's 73 years old today. So
he could technically hear this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
It's kind of weird to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sitting here talking about somebody and they could be listening right now.
So I guess there's been movies about him, obviously.
A lot of TV shows, documentaries, and stuff like that, too.
Kemper, the Co-Ed Killer, was a TV movie that was loosely based on Kemper murders. It was in 2008. I mean, it's Mindhunter, obviously, and the guy who plays him
does a really good job.
I mean, he doesn't look exactly like him, but it's pretty damn close.
Gets the way of talking down really well too.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any like little tidbits you wanted to throw out there?
I mean, you pretty much covered all of it. I can't. To me, it's beyond belief that he got away with some of the stuff that he did. He was cocky. Like,
yeah, he was.
He just did not. He thought he was smarter than everybody else, and he was going to go out to prove it.
My thing is, the police had no idea that it was him.
Nope.
So he literally could have just kept on killing.
I guess he didn't want to.
Obviously, yeah, he didn't want to. But I mean, if he had, I mean, he could have put up like John Wayne Gacy numbers, and at Ted Bundy, like 30s, up in the 30s.
I wonder,
because it was 11 months, and like they had not caught on.
Yeah.
If he would have kept killing, he probably would have entered the berserk mode a lot faster, which is when a serial killer just loses their fucking mind and just starts spree killing.
Right, with not even worried about covering it up or nothing.
Yeah, kind of like Ted Bundy did in Florida, where he went into a sorority house and just killed a shitload of people in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's
it is to get that.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, you guys can decide. I really, truly think that he was born this way, but his mother really didn't help. His mother was... I'm not saying she deserved to be murdered at all. But the world probably didn't... I mean, her daughters missed her, but I'm sure everybody else didn't miss her. I mean, she was... I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that if I was Edwin... Or if I was in that situation, I would kill my mom, too.
Yeah,
I would definitely not live with her, and I wouldn't have any...
I just keep going back to the fact that they dropped the ball so many times on that. It's ridiculous.
Well, I have a little tidbit for you. He tried to join the California Highway Patrol. Okay?
Yeah, he did. He worked on the
he worked in the highway department, but he applied to be a
state patrolman.
CHIPS officer. You know, the ones that ride the motorcycles.
Yeah.
But he thought it's because they found out about him murdering his grandparents.
So he wanted to join the police force so he could get like inside information, or what?
No, he just wanted to be a police officer. A lot of times, serial killers want a point of authority, kind of like Dennis Radar,
or Gacy, how he was friends with a lot of...
He was in politics.
Yeah, a lot of politicians and stuff like that.
Yeah. So he wanted power, and so he wanted to be an officer. But he thought it was because of his the murders of his grandfather and grandma. It wasn't. He was just too tall. So
that's it?
Yeah, he was too tall. He was 6'9". The average height, I think the height description is like 5'11", 6 foot. I think somewhere around there. But, or, I don't know, 6'9" is just too big to be on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I think your freaking feet will be flying down behind you or something. But,
dragging on the road.
Police also found out, because when files are expunged, back then they were literally just crossed out with a marker.
Mm-hmm.
So they found out that Ed Kemper was a felon where he killed his grandparents. He's like, hey, did you guys know that Ed Kemper killed his grandparents with a gun? And they're like, oh, weird. And he's like, well, it says here he has a .45 caliber weapon. So they
registered to him.
So they went there and asked for his weapon, and he almost said which one, like which gun. But he was just like, what gun? And he's like, oh, you're 45. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he went to go get the gun. So that's also, I think, a contributing factor why he killed his mother, because he knew that he was like, oh, the police were on me. He's very paranoid at this point.
He wanted to make sure that he killed her before he got caught.
Yeah. So, but no, they were just coming to get the gun because he wasn't supposed to have it.
We will never understand what goes through a serial killer's mind.
He also thinks he's very special, that he is the smartest killer. He also did a lot of audiobooks too.
Didn't he give opinions on other serial killers as well? Like his like how he would do it in their situation type deals, or was that?
No, that's Ted Bundy.
Oh, okay.
Ted Bundy did that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, he really helped out the FBI profilers and stuff.
Yeah,
He basically, when you talk to him, you become friends. He's very charming.
Well, charismatic. They gotta be.
Yeah,
really.
And he also if you got into the car with him, he gave hundreds of rides to people without killing them.
Yeah.
During his killing spree.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to mention, is the fact that he would sometimes give, like you said, give rides and not kill them, like the way, he would be able to kill some people with no remorse whatsoever, but let other people live.
A lot of times, if you talked about the serial killer, if you talked about the co-ed killer, he let you live.
Really?
Yeah. If you talked, because he said it was embarrassing.
Embarrassing?
He was too embarrassed to kill them because they talked about the co-ed killer.
Oh my God.
He is so full of shit.
Yeah, this guy's a liar, for sure.
He's a full of shit killer, and he's not special. Obviously, there's numerous serial killers out there that are famous,
and
who have killed more. So, I mean, yeah, they weren't going to catch him at all until he turned himself in. But there's other serial killers that still haven't been caught. Zodiac killer still hasn't been caught to this day.
I thought they finally figured out who that was.
It's not verified. They have a strong suspicion that it's him, but I don't think it's verified yet. I'm not reporting on it, and we're not doing a podcast on it or an episode on it until it's completely 100% verified. Because I'm not going to be the dumbass that like, oh, we got this, and stuff, and it turns out to be like not him.
Yeah.
But they just recently caught the Golden State Killer.
Yeah. I know,
and that was like 30 years ago.
It's almost too late. Looks like he's about to die at the trial.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's been people that have gotten away with a lot more murders. He's not special. He's not even the smartest serial killer. He doesn't even have that going. He's the tallest one, though.
Yeah,
he is the tallest one that we know of. I mean, there could be like a 7'4" killer out there. We have no idea.
Maybe.
So, yep, that was Edmund Kemper. That was like, I mean, we went through it pretty fast, but
I don't know. I feel like it was decent.
Went through his
decent
birth,
amount of
childhood,
information,
murders, and capture, and trial.
Covered everything.
Yeah. If you guys want to listen to a snippet of his audiobook, it is on YouTube. It's Flowers in the Attic. There's about a 46-second video of him reading chapter 1. So, and he does do audiobooks, and also,
not that people promoting.
No.
You could go listen to.
But I mean, he did have a really nice reading voice. Also, he answered every letter that had ever been written to him.
Really?
He never answered in handwritten, but he typed all of them. So, but he doesn't answer anymore.
Just too old, or
I just don't think he wants to anymore.
How come they don't interview them anymore?
I think it's because, if I had to guess, I think it's because they don't want to promote more serial killers coming.
Why? I mean, true crime, they've got documentaries all the time where they're talking about serial killers and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still something.
It's more difficult to get to them now, obviously because of COVID. Yeah. And another thing is, just because, I mean, he's
probably just
he's
old.
old news.
Yeah.
He's 73 years old. He killed back like 40 years ago. Like
Yeah.
40 years ago when the killing happened. So
Yeah.
it's not like he's, like, oh, there's a big thing. I mean, if he turns out that there's more his victims were found, then maybe they'd go back and be like, hey, we found these victims and here you go.
Right.
But no, I just think it's because he's been interviewed to death and he's just one of the big boys and everything else. But I don't know if you think, do you think that he would be technically the real life Jason Voorhees?
Well, yeah, dude's huge.
Yeah,
but, I mean...
Well, not the unkillable part, but
No.
and the mask part. But I mean, like his
The
bigness,
stature.
and stuff. But yeah. So next week are we going to release 2 episodes next week?
I don't know. Yeah, because we're doing the creepypasta for one and...
Urban Legends.
Yeah, the
for
Urban
another.
Legends for the other one.
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 next week, so we can catch up, and then the following week after that will be our 1-year anniversary episode.
Yeah, it's so excited.
It's going to be a very special episode, so you guys cannot miss it. Follow the link below to get to all our social media, and if you want to email us, and yeah, give us a 5-star rating. That'd be awesome too.
Absolutely, we appreciate it.
It's a 5-star ratings on Spotify now too, so you can rate it.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week for Creepypasta and Urban Legends.
Thanks for listening.